these glasses are those blue ones, so they're gonna try to keep them so they don't shine too much in them. See how, look at that, see that?
Yes, it is blue.
Then if I go like that, you don't see that. So I'll try to be aware of that a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to Karmatalks. My name is Yulia and I'm your host today. This is the podcast with yoga studio owners sharing their experiences, innovation, their stories, and how passionate they are about yoga and all things related to yoga and healthy lifestyle. So we have a very special guest today. His name is Jim Kallett. He has been in the yoga world for over 20 years. So I have to read my notes to just introduce him because there's quite a lot of things to say. So Jim Kallett has been senior faculty of Bikram's yoga teacher training since 1998, and that's over 40 teacher trainings. He has been international judge and coach for the International Yoga Championships from 2003 to 2013. He's one of the first teachers of Bikram. He's been running his Bikram Yoga San Diego school since 1998, and when there have only been about 15 Bikram schools worldwide, and his school thrived unchanged since then. Welcome everybody, and welcome Jim. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, it's exciting. You've got so much to share, I'm sure.
Well, hopefully.
Yes, where do we begin, right?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yes. Well, we can begin with a question of how you are role modeling the way schools and yoga studios should be operating these days because of the COVID. There are strict regulations and rules of how the safety measures should be done, and from what you're telling me, I understand that you are very serious about safety of your students and sanitizing and all that. So please share your best practices.
Well, that's paramount, of course. But even before COVID-19, the whole basis of what we do, which is Bikram Yoga, is the safety and correctness of the practice. That's paramount. It's not how much a person can do. It's not about the postures or the yoga. It's about you, your body, your mind, your health, your life. So the way the yoga is created, a system that Bikram Chowdhury created of Bikram Yoga, emphasizes the safety and correctness of how you use your body. In other words, you're creating balance in yourself. It's about what muscles you're contracting, what muscles are stretching, the opposite force, creating states of balance that you hold until you're neurologically memorize that, create neural pathways, recondition neural pathways, engrams muscle memory. So doing how you do the posture, not how you do the posture, how you use your body to try to do the posture is what's most important. So of course that's going to extend into the situation today with this virus. The emphasis is to keep things safe, as always. I mean, just working in the heat in the Bikram class is increasing the safety. That allows you to stretch more safely. You're not micro tearing the fibers of the muscles and tendons and ligaments as you're stretching them because they're warmed up, and it increases vasodilation, blood flow, and oxygenation of your body while you're doing it. So these are all purposes of safety. Now with the coronavirus, of course, there's lots of restrictions. We were mandated to close our school because they categorize yoga studios and yoga schools as gyms or fitness centers, which is kind of arbitrary to me. But in actuality, I can understand it. It's not like they can go around to 150,000 different businesses in the state and decide what each one should be open or closed. So they have to generalize. So we closed on March 20th. we were allowed to reopen on June 12th. We needed an extra week to get our school ready, but we opened on June 19th with very specific protocols and procedures in place according to the requirements and recommendations of the state of California and the county of San Diego. Now, the nature of the yoga we do, Bikram Yoga, really allows for that. We have a very large school, first of all, 7,000 square feet. The classroom is 2,500 square feet. So that's 83 feet by 30 feet. So for us to create the physical distancing required, we put 30 little red squares in the lines in the carpet that we have, which are 5 feet apart. The squares are set up so that if the room was full, we'd have 30 people in the room. And they would be a minimum of 8 feet apart. So a smaller class of 10 people, they could be 20 feet apart. 8 feet minimum. And everyone can see themselves in the mirror. Nobody has to see in the mirror. So we had to lay that out very specifically. Nobody has to ever be within 6 feet of each other in the school. We have everyone pre-book their classes online now. They can't do any transactions at the front desk. The only thing is water, towels, that's it. So they come in first thing and they have to have masks on. So everybody always has a mask except when you're on your mark, on your mat when the class starts.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
The mask has to be put on before you leave your space. You have to have a bag with you that you can roll your mat and towel up and put in the bag before you leave your space so it doesn't drip anywhere on the school. When they come in, they sanitize their hands first thing. Then they follow the lines, arrows, staying 6 feet apart. There's marks in the floor. And they take their shoes off and put them in the cubbies. They come up to the front desk and they say their name. They've already been pre-booked and then they're checked in. They have their temperature taken. They have 3 questions asked of them, screening questions, and they're checked for symptoms. Then they have to go down the hallway and they can either go in the change room or the classroom directly. If they're going in the change room, they go there first. Once you're in the classroom, in and out, you stay in there. And everyone has to come 30 minutes before class. So everyone's in the room, the teacher's in there from 20 minutes before at least, and they're screening, watching. The door to the classroom doesn't have a handle anymore. It's a push open. So they have to open the door with a dry, clean towel or anything but their hands. I don't care if they use their foot or elbow or whatever. So they're not touching anything at the school at all, except their own water mat and towel. And they're never more than 6 feet, never less than 6 feet apart, and they have a mask on. So those are the primary requirements. And we're able to do that. Now, the nature of the yoga that we do, Bikram Yoga, is you're in one spot. You're not moving around. The teacher is on the podium. They're not coming up and touching you or handling you. It's never been that way. It's not Bikram Yoga. So we don't have to change anything. We don't have to, change anything about the yoga. The yoga doesn't change anyway. The Bikram Yoga is the same every time. And that's because you don't change the yoga to fit people who are imbalanced. You take imbalanced people and fit them into the balance of yoga and you balance the person. So those are the primary things we've been doing. They did, the numbers and triggers in San Diego and California have gone up dramatically when they started opening business because fitness centers were flaunting and blowing off all the protocols and requirements. They didn't care. No mask, no physical distancing.
Oh, seriously? Wow, I didn't know. I didn't know they could actually not follow the rules.
A lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But the thing is, how do you do it at a fitness center? I mean, they're sharing equipment, they're huffing and puffing. And in the Bikram Yoga class, you're never huffing and puffing. You're never going in oxygen debt. Your breathing is so slow. The room is so hot and humid. The air is so thick and heavy that even if someone were infected asymptomatically, their breath, the droplets are not able to travel very far, maybe a foot before they drop because they're coated with the moist air. And the carpet we use is antimicrobial. It's got a polyurethane backing so moisture can't penetrate it. I would never go into a place with a hardwood floor or that scam they call flow text that 90% of schools use, that somehow they talk everyone into getting. I think they're very unsanitary walking around in people's puddles of sweat, but that's my opinion. With the carpet, if the carpet is right, unilock back carpet, polyurethane, moisture sits up in the nylon fibers where it just evaporates in the heat. And the thing about the carpet is we're able to treat it with two different things. One is a disinfectant that's made from thyme oil, so it's natural. It doesn't hurt you at all. It doesn't affect human beings. Kills 99.9% of all bacteria, mold, virus, and germs.
What oil is it? What oil?
Thyme oil, THYME.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you mean. Yes. Yeah, that's like an herb, right?
It's an herb, yeah. That's used for seasoning, for cooking.
Yeah, I like that
very
one.
strong. It's also very good for, as a somewhat of an antibiotic, but it's good for colds and things like that. You take a little bit of thyme oil. Yes, it has medicinal purpose uses as well. And then we use another product that is used in hospitals and other places, and it's supposedly lasts 30 to 90 days. You can spray it on any surface, including carpet. And they call it nanotechnology. It's way over my head. I don't know what. But they say that it mechanically kills the virus. It doesn't chemically kill it. It microscopically pierces the membrane of the virus in contact. So as, say, a droplet of breath falls to the carpet and it's infected with a virus, it's going to be killed immediately on the carpet.
Oh, that's cool.
And also is a natural product that does not hurt you at all. So we treat it, even though it's supposed to last 30 to 90 days, we use it every 2 weeks. And you can wash the carpet, you can do anything, and it's still going to be effective. We put it, you can put it on counters or anything like that. So they use it in hospitals, they use it in places where they have to stay very disinfected. So between all of that, as far as I'm concerned, our yoga classroom is the safest place you can be in an indoor situation, ironically.
I believe you, but just by listening to all your sanitation guidelines and all your measures, it sounds like your studio is the safest place to be.
Well, that's the point, is that here's the thing about yoga, and particularly I'm very, passionate about Bikram yoga in the sense that, it is a therapy. We're an essential business. I think we're as essential as any business, because if you think about it, out of everyone who gets infected with the coronavirus, 90% of them don't get sick or have very mild symptoms. Why? Because their immune system kills it, right? So isn't that the best, most important thing to fight this, is the immune system? So this yoga helps you to build your immune system. It's the greatest thing to build your immune. It's activating and stimulating all of the ductless glands in your endocrine system, all of your organs, 500 internal organs. It's all the systems of your body involved. It's comprehensive. It's activating your immune system. Can I give you a little example story? It's kind of anecdotal, but during the lockdown, I would go into the school. We have a small room with a 40,000 BTU heater, and I would take one of our misters into the room, which creates the steam, the humidity. And I would just turn that room on, and I'd go in and do my own class by myself. Mirrors in, it's a small room. And I would literally boil myself like a lobster. I could barely do a class. Sometimes I couldn't finish it. And the first day I did that, I went home, and I hadn't done yoga for a couple of weeks, which is a death sentence for me. I went home that night at 9 o'clock, about 9 o'clock, I started shivering, and I had a fever, and I was sweating, and I went to bed and fell asleep. And I woke up in the morning, and I was like shivering the whole night, like you get when you're really sick, like with the flu. And I woke up, I'm thinking, oh my God, you have the coronavirus, all these things go through your head. I woke up in the morning, and my sheets were completely soaked. I wrung them out like a wet washcloth. But I
Okay.
felt like $1,000,000. I was 2 feet off the ground. I felt so energized and so good and so clean. And I know it happened because I've seen this before. It's happened before. I see it all the time. When you're doing that yoga, it's like turning a light switch on. You're activating your immune system. All that fever and shaking and sweating and chills and all that is not a virus or a bacteria. It's your immune system turning on to fight it, to kill
Yes.
it. You burn it out. I felt like it burned everything. And that happened to me 3 times over the next couple of weeks, and then stopped happening. I was turning on, so that's what the yoga does. I mean, I did it a little bit extreme, but I like to do my yoga in the steam room or sauna when I can. I love it hot. I need it hot. But even in the room that we have, that's, 10, 15 degrees above your body temperature with 40%, 50% humidity, it's going to activate your immune system. So this is the best thing people could do as therapy.
Exactly.
And the amount of stress, which is the #1 cause of every disease. Why? Because it puts your immune system in a coma. It compromises your immune system when you are stressed. And the amount of stress and anxiety that people have been experiencing over the last few months is sometimes so subliminal you don't even realize. So coming in and doing this yoga is such a de-stressing practice that, again, it's the best thing you can do. And the ironic thing is, we talked as teachers before we opened. We're going to be dealing with people coming in who haven't done this yoga for 3 months. They're not used to the heat. They haven't been practicing. Their backs are tight. Their what they call hamstrings, the internal tendons of the biceps, are the first thing that tighten up. Your hips tighten up. And they're going to come in, and their stomachs are going to be hanging out. And they're used to coming in and doing the postures on automatic mode, the way their body's been conditioned to do them. They stop thinking about that. They come in and they just do the postures the same every day. They're no longer thinking. Now they can't do that. They come back after 3 months, and they have to pay really close attention to what they're doing. So we're emphasizing how much more you need to use your abdominal muscles, how much more you have to pay attention to what part of your body you're using, how you're contracting those muscles. Forget about the posture. Forget about yoga. Concentrate on the action you're doing and how you're doing it. And the posture will be right. Going back to the basics of yoga, where if you're focusing on the result, good luck, it's hit or miss. If you pay attention to the action, right action always leads to right result. That's right out of the Bhagavad Gita. That's right out of the words of Lord Krishna 10,000 years ago. That's the basis. That is the definition of karma yoga. So going back to that, people had to go back to that. And it was interesting because I thought, well, people aren't going to be able to finish their classes at first. They're going to be falling, sitting down. They're going to have to leave the room. The opposite was happening. Opposite. They were not leaving. They were so focused and concentrating because they had to. My teacher was Bikram. He used to say, you can't start your journey if you don't know the destination. But he said the destination isn't what's important, it's the journey. But if you're not pointed in the right direction, you're never going to get to the destination. That's what he means by you have to know the destination before you start the journey. Now, once you start going, if you're on that line to your destination, if you go one hair off that line and keep going, you're going to keep getting further and further from that line. You can't get back to the line unless you come all the way back the way you came to the beginning and start again. Or you keep going and you make a huge circle, 360 degrees, and you end up like a yellow cab in Manhattan with 250,000 miles on your odometer. And you open the door and you're still in the same parking place. You never went a foot. So those 3 months they were away, they were all the way back to the beginning again, which is an opportunity to start again from scratch. This time, stay on the line. So that's what was happening. And it's been a month now. And after 2 weeks, we only had our members first. So we had the cream of the crop, the people that come every day first. We didn't allow anyone else to come the first 2 weeks. Then we opened up to the general public. So we had new people out, people, irregulars, who just come occasionally, that started coming in. But by then, those regulars, they had all the protocols down. So that made it easier for us to open up. If we let everybody in at once, it would have been chaos. We never would have been able to function safely and under the regulations. So now I've been seeing, after 3-4 weeks, the yoga that these people are doing is better than they ever have, even 3-4 months ago. It's better. And I have thoroughly enjoyed teaching these classes because it's been fantastic to watch the level of concentration, the level of focus, the level of attention on paying attention, of listening and being aware of what you're doing as you're doing it. It's never been better. And this, I'm surprised. I didn't know this would happen. It's exciting. But this is the thing. Sometimes out of the worst things in life come great opportunity and positive things. So as far as the yoga, that's what I've seen.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. It's very powerful, the things you're talking about. It's got so much power and I believe it resonates with me. I believe everything you're saying, and it's quite significant that people were just able to transform like this, right? Like all of a sudden this transformation took place, and they keep going with kind of renewed momentum.
And what's funny is that, you know, they came back first of all with a greater sense of appreciation for the yoga, because you take things for granted and you sort of get conditioned and things start to become habitual again, because that's our nature. But they really appreciated the yoga more when they didn't have it. And then when they came back and they were dying for it, they feel that they get that feeling again you get from it when you leave. The sense of the stress being gone, of the energized, the full oxygenation of your body, that vibration that you feel inside, the energized, vibrating on a cellular level. You just feel that. And you sleep better. You're already sleeping better. I mean, I have one man who's a very big guy. He's a Canadian. He's played hockey all his life. He's got to be about 6'5", and he's 220 pounds, big man. And he came in and he said, "Jim, I'm so out of shape, I got to get back in here." And he started coming. He's done 24 consecutive days of it. And I looked at him in class yesterday, and I just went, "Wow, Ross, what a difference in 24 days. You already look trimmer and fit." He says, "I can't tell you how thankful I am." He had a knee replacement. He has another one. He may have to get replaced, but he's already feeling better. Full knee replacement. He comes in and does the yoga.
Wow, that's so awesome. That's really cool. I mean, what a commitment. How many days did he do? 26 days?
4 in a row so far.
That's amazing. I mean, 26 days. What a commitment. He must be so driven to do this challenge.
He got himself way out of shape. And you know what that feels like when he's close to my age. I think he's got to be close to 60. I'm over 60. But he's up there in age, and you start feeling it. You really start feeling it. So it's critical. It's your life. That's what's important. Forget it. Yoga and posture, who cares?
Yes.
But your life means everything.
It's like everything depends on it. Yes.
Sure. You have kids, you have work you do, you have family, you have things you want to do in life. That's what's important.
Yes.
Yoga is a tool to help you have a better life and live a longer life, if it's done right.
Yes, and sounds like you have a specific way of doing things in your school. So I had a question for you about what's the path forward? Because you've managed to stay steadfast over the years. With COVID-19, yoga studios were forced to change. And is it possible to keep things unchanged? And I think you already mentioned a few things about it, but would you want to expand on how do you envision the path forward?
Well, I don't think things are the same, and I don't know when or if they're ever going to be, and that's okay. Things change. You know, I mean, look through the history of yoga. It's not the same as it's ever been, and it's always changed. It changes every 10 years. You look back, and yoga is something else. You know, one time it's a physical culture and psychoanalysis, and it's a spiritual practice, and it's a a new age practice, and it's a a physical fitness exercise system. It always has the aspect of health and medical therapy. I mean, it's a business now. It's an economic aspect. It has all of those things. Um, so I mean, yoga is everything. So as culture changes, the idea of what yoga is and people's ideas of it change. But
Yes.
yoga doesn't change. Yoga is everything. So it's the comprehensive overall. It's the totality of everything. It's the integration of everything. It's how everything affects everything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as like what we're doing at a yoga school, Bikram Yoga, the yoga, we haven't changed a thing. It doesn't change. It never has, and it will not. We will not change it because it's not about the yoga. People change. They come in and they practice it. And because it's the same every time, they're fitting into the balance of yoga. As soon as you start changing it, you're fitting it into what people want or how they're conditioned. And you start isolating it down, discriminating, and making it exclusive, elitist, for only the people that want to do that. And there's a place for that, but that's not what Bikram Yoga is. And Bikram Yoga made it accessible to everyone by simplifying it, keeping it simple, having one thing you do. And that had been attempted before, but never succeeded. Even Bikram's guru tried that. He failed. He was a failure.
Huh.
He failed. He admitted it. He failed. But Bikram was able to figure that out based on a lot of his guru's knowledge and wisdom and guidance, but he figured it out. And it's really simple. But looking forward, to answer your question, I think the way places operate has to change. Obviously, the reason the numbers are going up and the triggers are being hit in California is because people aren't doing what they need to do. You've got to wear a mask. Even if you don't think you don't need to, you have to. And you have to stay 6 feet apart, until this is figured out.
Okay.
If we do that, the numbers will come down and then everybody can open if you keep doing that. If you just proper common sense and acting, understanding that everybody has to do this to be involved in is a common good here, a common thing that has to be done. So I think, I actually think it's streamlined the way we've been operating. I love the pre-booking now and not having to have all this stuff going on at the front desk. It's actually made it easier for the staff. The teachers, it's different. They're not just teaching yoga, they're now looking closely. They're looking for people to make sure that they're following protocols, that they're behaving, that they don't have symptoms. They're not sniffling in class or coughing or something. Then they got to tell them, you have to leave. It's not the same now. You can't stay in here. Come back when you're feeling better, when you're not, having symptoms. So
Yeah.
there's things that are changing, but the yoga, not at all.
Uh-huh. Yes, I like, and now that you say that, I remember how you once mentioned that the subject is not yoga, subject is yourself, and every day yourself is different, and so is practice. So doing the same 26 postures over and over, it's not a problem, right? Because yourself is different every day, and so is the practice.
We're dynamic. We're constantly changing. There isn't our cells in our lives that have average lifespan no more than 7 years. Some of them have minutes. You're constantly changing. The cells are mitosis, are duplicating. Every cell that divides and becomes a new cell is created. If it has enough energy and nutrition, it's going to basically clone itself. You won't age. That's what Deepak Chopra called yoga is the reversal of the aging process. He's an endocrinologist. He's a Harvard-trained medical doctor, as well as a highly developed, person who's a yoga scholar. He comes from, he's studied under lineages. He's a smart man. He knows the subject. And that's the thing is if your cells are, you're keeping what your cells need, giving them what they need, then you're going to slow down or reverse the aging process. That's the importance of this. So it's you're dynamic, you're constantly changing. If you keep changing the yoga, you're never starting again. You're exercising. It's calisthenics. And there's, again, that's okay, but that's not what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose is usually, it then becomes about yoga and lifestyle and this and that, And then there's a lot of people who aren't interested in that. They aren't going to do it, but they need it more than anyone. They're the ones with the bad back, with diabetes or obese or anorexic or can't sleep at night or can't sustain a relationship in their life. Screws loose brains, They're the ones that need it. And that's why this is so powerful, because it's made it accessible to all of those people. To go forward in this point as a yoga school, or if you want to call it a yoga studio, it's almost like those who've gotten away, who were Bikram schools or gotten away from it, change things, are going to have to come back to do it right in order to function. You can't be moving around. You can't be jumping up and down in the postures. You can't be huffing and puffing. You can't be touching and correcting people. You can't be doing it anymore in this situation. Maybe later on you can go back to that. But, just the Bikram yoga lends itself to this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're told we have to close because they're closing fitness centers, I have a simple argument. We're not a fitness center, and we're not a gym. We don't operate like any of them. We're not even like other yoga studios that basically were created modeling the fitness center modalities and operations as a business. Their whole point was to draw people out of the fitness centers, the young, athletic people. And they succeeded at that. They just use the word yoga, and they do yoga postures, but they're not. They're doing calisthenic exercise, which is fine. They're fitness centers. We're not. We're yoga therapy and yoga instruction. We're a school where you study the subject not being yoga, study the subject being yourself, your mind, your body, your health, your life.
Yes. So what are the changes you think would benefit yoga community as a whole?
Well, I'm not sure. Even I've always been confused about what this whole term yoga community is and means. Like I said, yoga is everything. So to me, the yoga community is the entire world of 7.5 billion people. It's not just this exclusive group of people who have this idea of what yoga is. To me, that's exclusive. I'm not interested in that. I mean, everything has its exclusivity, groups and countries and families and people and cultures and interests and whatever. I'm not interested in that. It's not, I don't criticize or think there's anything wrong. I'm just not interested in that. So I really don't know how to answer questions about yoga community. I don't really know if there is such a thing. There are people who call it that, and it's a group of people that have the same interests. There's a lot of people that have other interests, and I'm just as interested in them making yoga available to them. I was just watching this interesting show with Zac Efron. I forgot what it's called, but he's traveling around the world with this health expert that he mentioned, this healthy lifestyle person. And they're finding all these things in Iceland and France and all over, where these incredible sustainable energy and lifestyles and ways of, in Paris, the whole system of water is so unique, you can't even imagine it. It's so healthy. And they were talking about, water. They're thinking of water not as a product, but as a right. And I think of yoga the same way. Yoga should be available to everyone and anyone, like air and like water. It shouldn't be exclusive just to people who think or a certain lifestyle. And the Bikram yoga is all about that. It's really, that's why it's never really been a community, because people are so different who do it. that they would never have any other common interest, whether it's politically or whether it's in the activities in their life or the way they live. So how do you bring that together? You can't really. They do the same. They come in, they do 26 postures in the heat, and they do their yoga. But for everyone, it's a different experience. It's their own body. It's unique to them. So I'm not sure what to offer a yoga community as far as like where to go from here. I just do what you do, but just use common sense and make it about the students. And we have to get, at some point, we're going to outgrow this idea of business ruling everything, being money, business, branding, marketing, and selling. I mean, this is where we're at right now in the world. This is the culture. It wasn't this way 10 or 20 years ago, and it won't be this way 10 or 20 years from now. It changes all the time. In the 60s, it was a whole different thing going on. In the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. So, I mean, at some point, it's going to consume itself. You can keep that mentality. It's all about business. I think if you own a yoga school and if you're really interested in offering yoga rather than just as a business and a way to make money, yes, it has that aspect to it, of course. But for the purpose of creating a place where people can come and work on themselves, going back to that approach, you can't lose. There's always going to be people who want to have a good life and live a long life. You're going to always have a 7.5 billion person clientele. It'll never get exclusive or go away. There's always going to be people who want a better life and live long. So I think going back to that, making it about the safety and correctness of the practice, then you'll be successful as a yoga school owner. The success will come with that.
Yes.
Again, I'm giving you my opinion, and I don't think a lot of people want to hear that or will even want to agree with that. And that's okay.
It makes sense, because prioritizing students is an essential thing of running a yoga studio, yoga school. So I'm glad you brought it up, and it makes perfect sense. And this reminded me, another principle that you had about yoga is that yoga teaches self-responsibility and self-love. And I think it's quite essential too.
Well, yes. I mean, when we were taught to teach this yoga, when we went through our teacher training, I mean, this comes from a teacher whose teacher developed the self-realization fellowship, and whose teacher and teacher and teacher all the way back. Yoga is helps to create or develop what's called self-realization, and that is self-awareness, self-control, getting to know who you are without any preconception, without any judgment, just paying attention. And that's a really important aspect of it. There's a self-responsibility in the sense that you have to take care of yourself. I can't do it for you. I can provide you what you need to do that. I can offer you the opportunity by having the school here and the teachers being available to teach the classes and being trained properly. We can provide you the environment, the hot room, the carpet, the safe conditions, the spacing, the disinfecting, the cleanliness and all of that. But the heat, it's always been the heat, the mirrors, and the carpet. And we provide the technique, this system of 26 postures, everything done twice, 2 breathing exercises, 90 minutes, so you can comprehensively work out all the internal organs and tendons and ligaments of your body comprehensively, and train your mind to focus and become self-disciplined. Create neurological conditioning to rebalance yourself. We can provide the guidance, which is the system again, the dialogue, which is the action you're doing as you're doing it. Brings your attention to what you're doing as you're doing it, and the part of your body you're using as you're using it. So you are developing those neural pathways by, as Bikram's guru Vishnu Ghosh said, using conscious will to bring energy to the vital organs and tissues of your body. Bringing it, you're forming neural pathways, reconditioning. And then hopefully we can provide the encouragement and the inspiration. But we can't do it for you. We can't make you lock your knee. We can't make you stretch your arm. We can't make you look at the ceiling. You have to do it. We can do all of those things to help you, provide for you, but you do it. And if we could do it for you, it wouldn't help because you didn't do it. When you do it, you own it. It's yours. You did it. That's the sense of confidence and self-esteem and self-love that comes out of this practice, is that you did it. And you had to work hard to do that. And you had to suffer to do that. It made you stronger. That's a huge part of it. So I think, for school owners, yes, definitely. It's not about you. It's not, as a teacher, it's not about me. It's about the student. And there's going to be people in there that aren't like you, and people who are like you, and people that like you, and people that don't like you, and people you like, and people you don't like, and people where the chemistry is just bad for no reason, you don't know why, and people that totally resonate with you, people that resist you. It's not my problem. It's theirs. And I don't want to take on their problem. I have enough of my own.
Yes.
Let them have their problem. Let them recognize it, be aware of it by paying attention, and let them fix it on their own. And they can do that. I know they can do it. I've seen it. 23 years of teaching this yoga, 25 years of practicing, 22 years owning a yoga school. That hasn't changed.
And yes, and also sorry to interrupt you, just wanted to ask you about the difference between studio and school, because you make it very distinct. You distinguish between studio and school, and you've been running a school, not a studio.
Well, this again goes to what I was taught. I learned at the Yoga College of India. And that name came from a direction that Bikram was given by his guru who had the Goshen's College of Yoga and Physical Culture in Calcutta. College can have a different connotation in India than in the US, yes, but it's a school, it's a place of learning. The subject isn't yoga that you're learning. I mean, you can learn these postures in 10 classes, everything you need to know, but it takes a lifetime to practice it. It's not about this knowledge you gain. It's about learning, an active process. The knowledge means nothing. Once you have it, you're done. It's a continual learning, continual pay attention, because you're different every day. There's something to learn new about yourself every day. The yoga, like I said, you take classes, you know everything.
Yes. Well, it sounds like you've been successful, because this man who is doing yoga for 26 days in a row, he is learning self-love and self-responsibility. So
he's been practicing for a lot of years, but he was just away for 3 months,
He's trying to catch up.
Well, actually, he makes a good living. He's a financial advisor. He's pretty well off. He takes care of you. He knows how to do that stuff. But taking care of himself is a different thing, So that's more important. What good is all the money in the world if you're not healthy?
Yes, exactly.
I think school owners, my suggestion, what I can offer is simply, go back and always keep thinking about what this really is while you're doing this. Who's it about? And if you don't feel that, maybe you're not doing the right business or right profession, occupation. You're doing something just as a business. If you really have a passion for people, then this is a great occupation. I can't think of a better one. I've been doing this so long, I'm not bored. I never get bored. I get tired sometimes. Yeah, I get frustrated sometimes, like anyone, but it's constantly fascinating. I mean, it's about humanity, people, human beings, all different kinds. I've learned more about humanity teaching yoga than anything, because so many different kinds of people come in. And I really pay attention to them. And I don't judge, I try not to judge all my preconceptions. I just come in and go, oh, this is what I get my first impression and I immediately blow it off because I always get surprised. Someone I think is a real asshole, I find out is really the nicest person I've ever met. Somebody who really has me fooled, I find out like, oh my, I should have been watching this person. They're manipulative and this and that. I don't know. You never know. So you really have to pay close attention to people. And
yes, great.
learn a lot.
Yes, we're close to wrapping up. I'd like to mention that Jim hosted a series of radio talks a few years ago, and if any of you would like to join him, tune in his radio talks.
That ended. I just did that 1 year, so it's archived. But I think at some point, if I ever get it together, I'll have that on my website, my school
Yes,
website.
that's
I'll
a
do.
good idea.
Yeah, I'll
And
make it.
I've listened to a couple of talks and they're all about practice and medical research and yoga, and it's just fascinating. It's just so much to learn, and it's very interesting. So I think anybody could benefit from it. So if you guys are interested, please tune in, and we'll get a link out. Like maybe I'll post it in the comments, and you definitely should get on making sure you have those archives on your website.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll just have the episodes. I'll just put them on the website because I'm not really involved with the network. I just did that one season, and then that was it. So I have the episodes downloaded, so I could just post them.
Yeah,
directly.
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
At some point, I'll just do that. I'll make it easier, just more accessible that way.
The one thing I remember from the talk that I listened, I can't remember the speaker's name. It's a woman who's very, very experienced.
Hemicles.
Yes, so she talked about breathing, like how important it is to breathe and how we are all neglecting the right way of breathing. And it's fascinating because now when I catch myself on shallow breathing, I remember her voice in my head and I'm like, oh my God, yes, this woman's right there with a stick. Okay, you gotta slow down.
Absolutely brilliant teacher. She's just remarkable. She's she has an amazing history, and she's just so smart. She knows the subject. I think she's easily right up there at the very, very, very top of yoga teachers of the last 50 years.
So do you think she's still practicing yoga at 80 years old?
She's more than 80.
Yes, I think she's like, yeah, I can't remember her age, but she's.
I don't know. I asked her once. She said, "I'm older than God."
And she's still practicing yoga. Wow.
No, but I think she's got to be easily in her mid-90s.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating.
Maybe more. She's and she, for years and years and years, she would teach a invitation only, more advanced practice of 84 postures, and you had to be. Those are not recommended for people. They're extra things for people, but and I have my ideas about that. But she not only would lead those classes, but she would be doing them as she was leading them, and she would be doing them better than anyone, even well into her 80s, and 90s. I mean, she's just remarkable.
Yes, sounds very remarkable. Yeah.
And yeah, that interview was the best. I just shut my mouth and just let it go because
Good job. Yeah, you did a good job on it.
She could have gone on and on. I only had an hour and it was live, so I had to wrap it up.
Okay, well, I think we're good for today. We had a wonderful conversation with you, Jim. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks for coming to see this Karma Talk. And until next time, take care. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.